Hello, welcome to the university. This is a fire awareness course which will outline what is required in relation to fire and emergency evacuation here at the university. The session is split into two parts. Part 1 is fire awareness, which will give you a general overview of the risks associated with fire, and Part 2 is about personal emergency evacuation plans. I will refer to the plans as PEEPs during the session. This part of the course will provide a brief overview of what the PEEP process is and what will happen in a fire alarm activation. The university's role is to ensure that in the event of a fire alarm activation, all staff and students are able to evacuate in a timely manner. If you cannot self-evacuate, we will provide all necessary assistance to evacuate you safely in a dignified manner. We have a full-time security team at Singleton and the Bay campus who are on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our security team will provide assistance with evacuation if needed. Although the risk of fire is low, it is important to evacuate people out of our buildings as quickly as possible if the fire alarm is activated. We aim to evacuate our buildings within 3 to 4 minutes. We do not operate any stay-put policies or phased evacuations here at the university. If the fire alarm sounds, everyone must evacuate. The only exception is persons with disabilities who are unable to evacuate themselves from the upper floors of buildings, and this is the type of situation where we would provide assistance. You will need to leave the building immediately when the fire alarm is activated. It is important to understand what happens when a fire alarm is activated. The alarm signal goes directly to the fire service via a 24-hour call monitoring centre. The signal will also go to our security control room. The security team immediately send 3 officers to the building to investigate. In our academic buildings, we have fire wardens in place who will begin to carry out a fire sweep to evacuate all persons in that building. In student accommodation, there are no designated fire wardens. Students need to self-evacuate immediately. Our fire alarms are tested weekly for approximately 20 seconds. The time will vary slightly, but you do not need to evacuate during the test. Your residential team will notify you when the alarms are tested in your building. Our lifts automatically drop to the ground floor when the fire alarm is activated. Therefore, lifts must not be used by any person to evacuate. This is particularly relevant to a wheelchair user, which will be discussed in more detail in Part 2. As with all universities, we have many false fire alarms, which we refer to as unwanted fire alarm signals. An unwanted fire alarm is actually a smoke detector being activated, but there is not an actual fire. The reason for this is varied. For example, steam from showers or aerosols such as deodorant or hairspray can activate a smoke detector. It can also be from steam generated during hair grooming, which will also activate the detector. To prevent fire alarm activations, do not use these products directly under a smoke detector and open a window if you are taking a long shower. Students regularly activate smoke detectors in our kitchens during cooking as a result of burning food or leaving pans unattended which overheat during cooking. You are very likely to experience at least one of these types of activations in your student residence. However, all occupants must evacuate if the fire alarms are activated, regardless of the time of day or night. There are a few more points to consider. When you evacuate from the building, please do your best to social distance. However, the risk of fire overrides all other risks, and it is important you evacuate the building as quickly and safely as possible. If you have a face covering with you at the time, please wear this during the evacuation, as it would be difficult to maintain social distancing, particularly in stairwells. However, do not return to your room to collect your mask or any personal belongings. You must continue to evacuate. If you were cooking at the time of the alarm activation, turn off the heat source and evacuate. Let security know if you have been unable to turn off the heat source before you evacuate. Go to the designated external assembly point for the building, but do not congregate in mass at the assembly point. Adopt safe social distancing. Once outside the building, await instructions from our security team. They will inform you when it is safe to re-enter the building. It is only when our security incident controller tells you it is safe are you allowed to go back into that building. If you have any concerns or issues, particularly health-related, please let our security team know. Our security team will be in attendance at all fire alarm activations. We have implemented a number of COVID controls within our buildings, including halls of residence. One-way systems have been introduced wherever possible. Where this cannot be achieved, physical barriers and designated walkways may have been introduced in some areas. There may also be keep left signage in some of our corridors to ensure safe distancing for all. However, in the event of a fire alarm activation, you must evacuate immediately through the nearest fire escape and follow the green fire exit directional signs, and do your best to social distance as you evacuate. However, the risk of fire overrides social distancing controls, and you need to evacuate the building as quickly and as safely as possible. Remember to put on your face covering if you have it to hand, and adopt social distancing once outside near the assembly point. If you see smoke or smell burning, but the fire alarm has not yet been activated, please press the red fire alarm call point box. This will activate the alarm. Once safely outside, inform our security team of your action and provide any additional information you have that could help. Do not wedge open designated fire doors. They are in place to protect escape routes and to prevent the spread of fire or smoke, which will keep you safe. Familiarise yourself with the various escape routes both in your residence and any building you use on campus. Communication is very important, so let us know if you require any assistance during your stay with us, as there is support available for you. You are encouraged to download the Safe Zone app. It is a free app available on mobile devices. Safe Zone enables immediate access to your security team at the click of a button. For details on how to download the app, visit our web pages or My Uni Hub. It is important we work to reduce fire alarm activations. You are to follow fire safety advice during your stay with us. The use of any item generating a naked flame, such as candles, tea lights, or incense burners, are prohibited, along with smoking and vaping in all of our buildings, including accommodation. Take care when recharging equipment. Only use manufacturer's CE marked charging equipment. Laptops are not to be left charging on soft furniture, as the fan may not be able to operate efficiently and cause overheating. Report any heating issues to your residential services. The use of personal electric heaters such as fan convectors and radiant heaters are not prohibited. Only use CE marked extension leads. Do not overload a 13 amp rated lead or daisy chain leads together, as this increases the risk of fire. Do not cover any ceiling mounted smoke detectors, as they are a vital part of our early warning system to keep our community safe. Only cook or heat food in designated kitchen areas and not in your rooms. Do not leave any hair dryers or straighteners on soft furnishings or bed linen, particularly if hot. Do not use aerosols such as hairsprays, deodorants, or any products generating steam directly below a ceiling smoke detector. All ironing is to be carried out in the rooms or kitchen only, not in accommodation corridors. Clothes dryers are not to be left in corridors to dry your clothes. Do not use overdoor coat hooks, as these are detrimental to the fire resistance of the doors. This section will focus on the process at the university for personal emergency evacuation plans, commonly known as PEEPs. Should you have a disability, either temporary or permanent, which affects your ability to evacuate yourself from a building safely, then you are to contact the Student Disability Office or our Premises and Fire Safety Manager, Phil Mormon, for advice. A PEEP allows us to understand your requirements to ensure a safe evacuation from a building. It is a formal record which will be shared with our security team. The complexity of the PEEP will depend on the nature of your disability. For example, a person who uses a wheelchair and cannot self-evacuate, as the lifts cannot be used during the fire alarm, will need assistance to evacuate from a building safely. We look at the use of student residence buildings and academic buildings when we prepare a PEEP. We want you to feel safe wherever you are on campus. The two key aspects to a PEEP are a safe place known as a refuge point, which we will go to if you cannot evacuate the building, and communication. So what is a refuge point? A refuge point is defined as a safe place which will be selected to allow safe refuge, normally for a period of 30 minutes from fire or smoke. Refuge points are generally located within stairwells, which are protected by fire doors and fire compartment construction. All of our refuge points are suitably signed. Please familiarise yourself with the various disabled refuge points within any building you visit. If you have any difficulty evacuating for whatever reason, please go to the refuge point. As mentioned previously, we have a lot of false fire alarms. Our security team may instruct persons who cannot self-evacuate to stay in a refuge while they investigate the cause of the fire alarm activation. They will keep in contact with you and provide instruction on what will happen next. These images are examples of the signage you will see on campus. All of our buildings at the Bay campus have emergency voice communication systems known as EVCs installed at the refuge points. At Singleton, our high-rise buildings have EVC systems installed, as well as some of our other buildings. In buildings where there is no EVC system installed, you will see signs which will have a location information on there, for example, STR201, which means staircase 2, floor level 1. If you press the EVC system call button, you will be able to speak to one of our security team attending the fire alarm investigation. You will be asked to confirm your location. Our security team will provide you with further instructions. There is support available for you. If you feel you may need a PEEP, please contact the Student Disabilities Office or our Fire and Premises Safety Manager, Phil Morman. Contact the Health and Safety team if you have any fire safety concerns or queries. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your time at Swansea University.